I remember the day they came. The sky turned a deep shade of violet, and the air hummed with an energy I had never felt before. I stood on the rooftop of my apartment in New York, staring at the enormous silver ship hovering above the city. Everyone had expected an invasion, but what happened next was beyond anything we could have imagined. I was among the first to be chosen for contact. A strange blue light enveloped me, and within seconds, I was no longer on my rooftop, I was inside their vessel. The air smelled metallic, and the walls pulsed like living organisms. Before me stood the being I would come to know as Varen. Varen was tall, slender, and covered in a shimmering exoskeleton that changed color depending on his emotions. He observed me with large, luminescent eyes, his elongated fingers twitching slightly. Then, without moving his lips, I heard his voice inside my head. "You're not like the others." I didn't know what to say. Fear gripped me, but curiosity pushed me forward. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You're not afraid like the rest. You listen. That is why we chose you." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. Chose me for what? Varen tilted his head, and the walls around us shifted, revealing images. Our world, our wars, our destruction. Then, it changed to something else. A future. One where Earth thrived, where humans and Varen species coexisted, sharing knowledge, technology, and a new way of life. We have seen many worlds fall to their own greed and fear. We do not wish for yours to be the same. But we cannot force change, you must decide. The weight of his words sank deep into my chest. I thought of everything humanity had done, both the good and the bad. Could we truly change? Could we accept them, learn from them, and evolve beyond our destructive nature? I looked back at Varen, his skin glowing a soft blue, a sign of hope. And in that moment, I knew why they had come. Not to conquer, not to destroy, but to offer us a chance to be better. I stood there, my mind overwhelmed by the enormity of what Varen had just shown me. The images still flickered in the air, cities rebuilt with alien technology, humans and Varen species working side by side, space travel beyond our solar system. It was a future that seemed impossible, and yet, here was the proof that it could exist. "But there is another path," Varen continued, his skin darkening to a shade of deep crimson. The images shifted again. Now I saw war. Humans, panicked and afraid, attacking the alien ships. Explosions ripped through the sky. Cities burned. And then nothing. The earth was silent, lifeless. My stomach twisted. "You're saying, if we don't change, we'll destroy ourselves?" "We have seen it happen before," Varen said, stepping closer. "We have watched civilizations collapse under the weight of their own hatred and fear. We do not wish for your kind to meet the same fate. But you must choose your path." I exhaled slowly, trying to process everything. "Why me?" Varen's gaze softened, his exoskeleton shifting to a pale silver. "Because you listen. Because you think beyond yourself. Most of your kind fear what they do not understand. But you question. That is the first step toward change." I shook my head. "I'm just one person. What can I do? A single voice can ignite 1,000 others." The ship trembled slightly, and I felt a sudden weightlessness as the walls around us began to dissolve. In an instant, I was back on my rooftop, the city stretched out before me unchanged, and yet, I knew everything was different now. The sky still held its violet hue, the massive alien vessel still hovered above, and the world was still holding its breath, waiting for a sign. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced down. News notifications flooded my screen. Governments debating how to respond. Military preparing for possible conflict. Mistrust spreading. I clenched my fists. The wrong decision could mean war. The right one could mean everything. I looked up at the ship and whispered, "I'll do what I can." And in the sky above, for just a moment, I swore I saw a soft blue glow. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and tension. Governments around the world scrambled to decide how to respond to the alien presence. Some leaders called for diplomacy, but many others feared an invasion. Military forces remained on high alert, missiles aimed at the sky. Protests broke out. News channels debated endlessly. And through it all, Varen never spoke to me again. I felt like I was carrying a secret too heavy to bear. I knew what the Varen wanted, for us to change, to evolve, to avoid the fate of so many others. But how could I convince an entire planet when I was just one person? Then something happened that changed everything. It started with a single broadcast. A scientist from NASA, Dr. Elaine Carter, had been working on deciphering the signals from the alien ship. Somehow, she had intercepted a fragment of my conversation with Varen. The recording was leaked, spreading across the internet like wildfire. We have seen many worlds fall to their own greed and fear. We do not wish for yours to be the same. But we cannot force change, you must decide. That one sentence was enough to split humanity down the middle. Some saw it as proof that the aliens came in peace. Others believed it was a trap. And then came the ultimatum. A coalition of military forces, led by the world's most powerful nations, issued a warning to the Varen. Leave, or we will consider you a threat. I felt sick. I knew what would happen if we chose the wrong path. I had seen it. I had to act. With the leaked recording, I finally had a voice. Journalists reached out, wanting to know what I had seen, what I had experienced. I agreed to an interview, a live global broadcast. If I was going to make a difference, it had to be now. As I sat in front of the camera, my hands trembled. The world was watching. Billions of people. I took a deep breath. I know you're scared, I began. I was too. But I met them. I spoke to them. They don't want war. They don't want to conquer us. They want to help us. I could already imagine the skeptics rolling their eyes. I pressed forward. They showed me what could happen if we let our fear control us. If we attack first, we will lose everything. Not just this chance for peace, but our entire future. Our world. I swallowed hard, looking straight into the camera. We have two choices. We can give in to fear, or we can be better. The broadcast ended. I didn't know if my words would change anything. I didn't know if people would listen. But I had done everything I could. Now the choice was humanity's to make. The world stood still for 24 hours. Governments debated behind closed doors. Protests filled the streets. Military forces remained at a standstill, waiting for the order to attack or to stand down. Then, on the morning of the second day, the answer came. The President of the United Nations stepped forward in a historic address. Humanity has been given an opportunity unlike any other in our history. We choose peace. We choose to listen. The missiles were lowered. The ships remained. And then, for the first time, the Varen spoke to the world. Through a broadcast that reached every screen, every radio, every device on the planet, Varen's voice echoed in our minds. You have chosen well. And in the sky, the alien ship pulsed with a brilliant, hopeful blue. It was only the beginning. The world held its breath as the Varen's ship descended slowly, hovering just above the United Nations headquarters in New York. Crowds had gathered in the streets, watching history unfold. Armed forces remained nearby, but their weapons were lowered. For the first time in human history, we were about to meet an intelligent species from beyond our world, not as enemies, but as potential allies. And I was invited to stand at the front. A platform extended from the alien ship, a shimmering bridge of energy forming between their world and ours. Then Varen appeared, stepping forward with slow, deliberate movements. His exoskeleton shimmered between silver and deep blue, curiosity and hope. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward to greet him. Cameras from every country were rolling. This moment would be remembered for all time. Varen lifted his long, delicate hand in a gesture of greeting. We come not as rulers, not as saviors, but as guides, he spoke, his voice resonating in our minds. Your world stands at the crossroads of destruction and ascension. We offer knowledge, but the path forward must be yours to walk. A hush fell over the crowd. For a long time, no one spoke. Then, the Secretary-General extended his hand in return. We accept your guidance. The two shook hands, human flesh meeting alien exoskeleton. And in that moment, the world changed forever. The Varen did not give us weapons or impossible miracles. Instead, they shared knowledge. Technology that could purify water in an instant. Methods to harness limitless clean energy. Medical advancements that could cure diseases we had fought for centuries. But they also gave us a warning. Your kind has great potential, but you must learn to unite. If you turn these gifts against each other, we will leave. And we will not return. For the first time in history, humanity had a reason to work together. Not out of fear, but out of hope. Of course, not everyone trusted the Varen. There were governments and corporations that feared losing power. There were groups who believed we were being deceived. Conflicts still flared, but now they were met with a new force, people who wanted something better. People who had seen the future we could create. And I was at the center of it all. Over the next year, I became an ambassador between our species, traveling between the Varen's orbiting ships and Earth's governments, working to bridge the gaps of mistrust. I watched as humanity struggled with change, resisted it, but slowly, inevitably embraced it. One night, As I stood aboard the Varen's vessel looking down at the glowing earth, Varen stood beside me. "Do you believe your people will choose the right path?" he asked. I thought about everything, the fear, the resistance, the struggles. But I also thought about the progress, the hope, the way people had come together in ways I had never seen before. I smiled. "I think, for the first time in a long time, we finally have a chance." Varen's exoskeleton glowed a soft blue. "Then our purpose here is fulfilled." I turned to him, startled. "You're leaving?" "Not forever," he assured me. "But we have given you the tools. The rest is up to you." As I watched their ships rise higher into the sky, disappearing beyond the stars, I realized something. We had always looked to the heavens, searching for something greater than ourselves. But now it was up to us to become it. And so the real journey began. Years passed. The Varen had kept their word. They left, vanishing into the void as mysteriously as they had arrived. Earth had changed in ways I never thought possible. Wars declined. Old rivalries faded. Technology leaped forward at an astonishing rate. Cities rose, gleaming with energy beyond anything we had before. But something always felt incomplete. One night, as I stood atop a research station on the moon, staring at the stars, my communicator crackled to life. It was a private channel, one that no one else should have had access to. Then a voice. "Did you think they were the only ones watching?" A chill ran down my spine. Before I could respond, my console flickered. Strange symbols appeared on the screen, ones I didn't recognize, ones even the Varen had never shown us. And then the voice returned, softer this time, almost amused. "You have taken your first step, but the universe is far larger than you imagine." The signal cut out. The screen went black. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at the endless void beyond. The Varen had given us a choice, a future, but they had never told us what was really out there. And now, something else had noticed us, something that had been waiting.